What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Niners News here on 49ers Hive. My name is Zach Hernandez, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Matt Llewellyn. And today we're going to be talking about whether or not Sunday's performance by the 49ers defense put Robert Saleh back on the top of the head coach candidates. Matt, what do you think? They played a hell of a game.
Yeah, and I think, for a while there, while the 49ers were really struggling, I think you see guys like Eric Bieniemy get some play, and you see, other guys' names pop up, and Saleh kind of gets thrown to the back burner. But, I mean, Sunday, that was, you start getting some talent back, and, like, Richard Sherman has an interception. Jason Verrett still played well. Kerry Hyder looks like he's going to be a 10-sack guy this year. Working through all that adversity, and the defense is still looking like a top 10 defense in the NFL, missing their best player, missing Jaquiski Tartt, missing a multitude of guys over the course of the season. Again, who the heck are you, Ford, isn't, playing. Quan Alexander got traded. So you look at it, and he's done an absolutely fantastic job. And I think as he does that job with less and less talent than he had last year, and rotating talent, and the execution and the consistency of the defense, the level of play is still there. I mean, he has to be on those short lists. I do think that he's still naturally at a disadvantage because he's a defensive coach. I think that's kind of passe when you look at that. The coaches that are being fired right now are defensive coaches. So Matt Patricia, looking at you. There's rumors that Vic Fangio in Denver is on the hot seat, and he's a defensive guy. So, it's one of those things where he's kind of going to get a little bit knocked because he's a defensive guy. But at the same time, you can't be around Kyle Shanahan for so long and not pick up something. And we all know that if he leaves the 49ers, he's definitely going to poach some guys and take it with him. Mm-hmm. So he has the capability. And, you can see that his players play hard for him. So, he might get a little bit of poo-pooing because he's a defensive guy, but he absolutely should be on that short list.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. I think that they had kind of had a rocky couple of games where maybe, like you said, he kind of fell into the back of people's minds. Bieniemy went up top, and other guys like that. But I think that Sunday proved he's still a great defensive-minded defensive coach, and a great head coach candidate. The guys on the 49ers defense absolutely love playing for him. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Even when you get them after the game in the locker room, they all just rave about Coach Saleh. Coach Saleh puts us in position. Coach Saleh prepped us for this. They rave about the guy like it's Richard Sherman talking about these younger dudes. And It's really nice to see, because you've seen in previous years, in previous regimes, I should say, when things don't go well, the players aren't always as quick to credit the coaches regardless of the outcome. And it's nice to see that happening. But just going over the stats real quick, I mean, they kept the Rams to 14 total first downs, 8 through the air, 5 on the ground. 1 came via penalties, 4 for 13 on third downs, which is just, fantastic for a defense. 308 total yards. And they were, they only had the ball for almost 26 minutes, just 3 seconds shy of 26 minutes. Those are great stats for a team that went into the game. What were they, like 7-2 or 7-3 or something like that? They went into the game really with a nice record. So the fact that the 49ers were able to kind of keep them to that was really nice. I don't think we didn't expect that. That's for sure. We were predicting 10-plus point blowouts, and they surprised both of us, and they single-handedly kept the 49ers in that game. Their offense kept doing the opposite and trying to keep the Rams in the game, but the defense was like, no, hold my beer. I'm going to save this for you guys. Just get Robbie Gould down there and kick that damn field goal. We're going to win this. So do you expect that type of performance again against the Bills? I know it's a totally different beast with Josh Allen, but how do you feel?
Yeah, I'm hoping that so Josh Allen sprained his ankle this past week, so I'm hoping that kind of limits him. But overall, this has been a very impressive team. You're looking at the team defense, and they're 7th as far as yards given up. They're 7th in total defense in the NFL. They give up a little bit more points than you would like to see, but I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that the offense has really struggled and hasn't been there to kind of pick up the slack. And, when you're going 3 and out, you're giving the other team good field position. You're going to end up giving up field goals and touchdowns. And that's just the nature of it. Especially, with Nick Mullins turning the ball over like it's on fire. The defense comes to play every week. Even if they have like a flat moment, they always find a way to refocus. And I think most of that has to do with Robert Saleh and his leadership. So, it's one of those things where it's just an impressive job. And like you said, you spoke to it. The players loved him. And you talk about previous regimes, and I think we all know that we're talking about Harbaugh here. Harbaugh is a similar guy in that he gets fired up, and, he's a get-in-your-face guy. But at the same time, he was also a guy that if something didn't go his way, he'd kind of throw a temper tantrum. We all know those Harbaugh slamming the headset down or, whatever. And Saleh, instead of being that temper tantrum guy, is at the end of the day, we're accountable to ourselves type of guy. And, you have to get behind somebody that's like that will come down and be a hard ass when he needs to be, but is also a guy that's going to be fired up when you do something really well. And at the end of the day, will take the burden and the brunt upon himself and not look for other people to blame and not look for a pity party or a temper tantrum to throw. And I think that that's why those defensive players all gravitate towards him. And that's why even through this adversity, you see a team that plays hard-nosed defense week in, week out, no matter who's on the field or who's injured or whatever the case may be. They're always out there doing what they can. And other than the Brian Allen debacle, I think that Saleh has done an exquisite job coaching this year.
Yeah, Brian Allen aside, but I mean, this was the first game. This is the first game all year where he had both of his starting corners, Richard Sherman and Jason Verrett. He was doing that basically, with one hand tied behind his back up until now, and they both played really well. I mean, Sherman had a pick in the first half. Jason Verrett played well, and he's continued to play well. And I give a lot of credit to Robert Saleh. I mean, obviously a lot to Jason Verrett for sticking through an incredibly tough story and tenure with the 49ers. But Robert Saleh continuously puts his players in position to have success.
Yeah, and, I want to shout this out too. Another good sign in terms of what type of coach Robert Saleh is. Look at the growth, and I want to give a shout out because big man touchdown. But look at the growth from the beginning of the season to now with Javon Kinlaw.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the sign of a great coach is getting rookies who are raw and, a little bit unpolished at the beginning and getting them producing throughout their first season, because Kinlaw has been very disruptive the last couple of weeks. And he looks like he's miles ahead of where he was without that training camp at the beginning of the year. And he looks like a guy. I don't think anybody's thinking that he's like the DeForest Buckner replacement as of yet, but he could potentially be that given a little bit more time. And I think that credit needs to go to Robert Saleh for getting him ready.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Javon Kinlaw, I mean, that pick six, basically, that was awesome to see. Nice to see him finally get that. He had his first sack last week. Now he comes in here, gets his first interception, first touchdown, all in the same play. That was really nice to see. But, I mean, guys like Kerry Hyder as well. I've been kind of singing his praises here on the show. Last week against the Rams, he had 2 sacks. So, and I think he's got he's up to 7.5 on the year.
7.5, yeah.
That's really good from an unsung hero type guy. And I think that just speaks to what Robert Saleh can get out of these guys. And they've really bought into this next man up mentality. And we talked about this again on the previous show, Matt, where we were kind of saying, look, next man up only works to a certain extent, to where there's just literally, the coach's son, like that's the next man.
Yeah.
Like there's only so many men to go through. But so far, the guys that are in there have stepped up and they've really lived up to that mindset. And I mean, it's just a credit to coaching, because a poorly coached team, and I did see some 49ers media pundits, whatever you want to call them, saying, this doesn't look like a well-coached team to me when they were watching the game on Sunday. And that just blew my mind, honestly. I'm like, how could you watch this game and take anything away from that other than the fact that the 49ers are a well-coached team are the only reason that they were even in the game to begin with. So
yeah, and absolutely. And you look at, again, you look at the growth of players and you say they all come to play next man up mentality. Look at the growth of Dre Greenlaw from year 1 to year 2. Fred Warner from year 1 to where he is now as the best middle linebacker in football. They squeeze stuff out of Jimmy Ward that we didn't think was there as far as getting him healthy and getting him in a position where he's going to make plays. And the thing that he does is he's not married to these players. If they're not producing, they're getting off. Does anybody remember the last time Ahkello Witherspoon played? He didn't have the mentality and the ability to adjust. And so they said, we're not married to you and we got to get you out. And I think that's a healthy thing to have in a coach who knows when it's time to cut his losses. It's so these pundits, these talking heads, and I know we're kind of like that too, but to just look at that game and say the 49ers aren't coached well, with as many injuries as this team has had, this should be a 1 or 2 win team. But here they are, going into week 13 with week 13, week 12, whatever 13, it is, week 13, with an opportunity to make the playoffs if things go their way. So hell of a job coaching. Kyle's done a great job. Robert Saleh's done a great job. All the position coaches have done a great job. I mean, I'm blown away that people think that they didn't do a good job. So, but I mean, back to the topic at hand, he absolutely is going to be on somebody's short list as far as a job. So, whether it's somewhere like Chicago, who looks like they're getting tired of Matt Nagy, or, I mean, the Jets, who's to say? But yeah, he definitely should be because he's done a hell of a job and he's a hell of a coach.
Yeah, real quick, as far as saying they don't look like a well-coached team, that's like totaling your Ferrari and then trying to drive it home and saying, man, this car was built so crappily, no, it's not that. It's due to injuries, it's due to COVID list. There's so many other reasons besides the actual coaching that the 49ers are not playing well. So just had to share that. But I agree with you. I do think that the 49ers risk the possibility of losing Saleh again this offseason. Hopefully they luck out once again. Hopefully he understands there's some unfinished business here in the Bay Area and he's willing to come back and coach through it. But if he does choose to leave, I do think they have some pieces in place, depending. The caveat is who he decides to take with him, who's willing to go. So, but I think that's going to do it for us today, guys. If you like what you see, hit that subscribe button below. We are around 1,100 subscribers right now. We are getting closer and closer to our goal every day of 20 million. And also hit the like video, drop a comment below. Do you think the 49ers lose Robert Saleh to a head coaching gig at the end of this year, or do you think he'd turn that down and stay?
Go ahead and click the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Thank you for joining us as always, and until next time, go Niners.